Hello and welcome back to Darren Doing. I'm Will Hester and I'm joined by the brilliant Ben Bowman. Ben, how you been? How's your morning been, mate? Good?
It's been all right, thanks, mate. Son, new contract. Well, not new contract, extension. Fucking get him out of our club. He's shit. Does nothing but for shirt sales. Am I right? Am I right, guys? Yeah, it's been fine, mate. Thanks. How's your morning been?
Yeah. Pretty decent, mate. I just started watching Peaky Blinders for the first time. But I feel like that's a bad thing to say now because people might spoil it or something. But I'm hooked in on that. Yeah, nah. No one's gonna be a dickhead like that. Mate. That's pretty. Nah. Surely not.
Nah.
Yeah, I've been watching that with my girlfriend. I made the best baguette of my life, and it was just like people talk about football being an escapism. That was like the best escapism ever. I actually almost cried when it finished.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, I fried feta, so it like caramelized. In the pan, cracked an egg on top, fried an egg on top of that.
Yeah.
Then in the meantime, I baked a massive like baguette thing.
Yeah.
Like a sourdough one, and then I cooked up a sort of hot sauce, honey, and melted butter. And then I slapped that on top of the baguette when it came out all hot. And then I put rocket, smashed avocado with like lemon, salt, pepper. The egg, feta, caramelized feta egg came on top. And then what else did I put in it? Oh, I crushed walnuts in it. And then I made a spicy mayo, hot sauce and mayonnaise dip, dunked that in. And it, mate, I just found myself like I was just eating it. I just felt emotional.
Yeah, you look emotional, mate. You look emotional.
Yeah. And my day can only get worse from that moment.
Yeah, it's peak now. So
yeah, as soon as I finished that last bite, I was like, "Fuck me!" Like
it's over.
Pure euphoria. Yeah, it's over. I don't know if it was as good as your turkey sandwich on Boxing Day. But
did you enjoy that?
It was special.
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah. No,
I got a lot of heat last year for too much cranberry sauce, so I kind of toned that down. The only thing that I think I fucked up a little bit was maybe the gravy soaked bread in the middle, because I was like, I reckon I maybe should have toasted the bread just to give it a little bit more solidity and structure. But other than that,
yeah,
it was fucking class.
Bit of texture. Is that for the texture? So that crunch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, mate, that baguette sounds unbelievable.
Yeah, it was banging. Let's get into the Son thing straight away then, mate, because you mentioned it there. Son's this morning, as I was doing a running order, he signed a contract extension. I think everyone knew this was going to happen. And I thought, I'm thinking that it's going to be something that no one can complain about. Like, it's Son Heung-min. He has come under a lot of criticism this season. But, I mean, he's such a legend. Like, we owe him one more shot at that trophy.
Yeah.
That he's never going to fucking get. But, I mean, I was thinking this would be something that unites the fan base decision, but then I said to my dad, Son signed a new contract, mate. How'd you feel? He's like, has he? He's had enough of him.
Get him out. He has to go, blood. I think a lot of people have kind of had enough, haven't they? Which is sad, really. But
yeah, I agree. I feel like, do you know what? I actually think that we're not getting the best out of him, but at the same time, he has lost a bit of a yard, maybe half a yard. But also he's been overplayed and over relied upon. Like, for now, I don't think he's a standout player in our squad anymore, like he used to be. But he's such a valuable part of that team, and he could be used. We could get the best out of him if we had another competent winger, one fit. Because maybe we do, but we don't know in Odebear. But if we get that star signing in and Son can be rotated, you can get the best out of him. Because when we've seen when he's got fresh legs, he is that star quality on the pitch for us. But he's been overused, and I do feel a bit bad for him. I feel like he's lost the ability a little bit at the moment, maybe the confidence to sort of beat a man and get past him and be a bit more direct. But I think that just comes from fatigue. He's been overused and. I mean, has he been injured this season? Is he one of the players that haven't been injured? I can't remember. I feel like this season's been such a
he got injured, didn't he? He got injured. What game was it? Because he missed Man United, didn't he? He got injured against
of course,
Qarabag. Yeah. He got injured against Qarabag, and then he missed Man United, and then he missed Brighton.
Oh, of course.
And
Yeah.
he didn't go on the international break, and then he came back to play against West Ham, and it was like, oh, well, that's what happens when he has like 3 weeks off or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was really sharp. Again, that game was a bit open, which really suited him, running into open space. That's what he, thrives in. We knew that, obviously, with the partnership he had with Harry Kane was based on Kane dropping deep, taking men out of the game, and using his skill and his passing ability to set Son through. That was what made Son in those kind of years under Mourinho and Conte. Obviously, he was great before that as well. And, he was probably more of a touchline winger under Poch. I wouldn't say he was necessarily I'd say it wasn't necessarily a touchline winger, but it was certainly more of it. I think his role is more similar now to what it was at the start of his career rather than the prime of his career. Or when I say the start of his career, I mean at the start of his career at Spurs. Poch only ever really used him centrally when he had to because he didn't have Kane, and that was also the same with Mourinho and Conte as well. But obviously, playing in a front three and a five at the back formation, you're naturally going to have more license to come inside. And obviously, we kind of saw at the start of the season, it felt like his role did change a little bit. We talked about quite a lot about Udogie actually being more of an overlapping fullback and allowing Son to get that space, and the balance on the other side wasn't quite the same. So I definitely think there's still room to get good stuff out of him. Like, he's an absolutely quality player. Like, just because he hasn't shown it this season, that doesn't mean that that's not still there. I just think that, the load management is a problem for someone who, is 32 years old. Obviously, people will look at Salah and say, okay, well, what about him? I think him and Salah's game are very different. I think Salah is actually, again, like a little bit like Son used to be, kind of less involved in build-up and more about final actions. And that's what Son's role partly is as well. But when you're kind of sitting against low blocks, he's going to have a lot of the ball kind of trying to beat his man. And I think maybe that's where that lack of sharpness kind of catches up with him sometimes. But I think it's the right decision. I think, obviously, also, like, loyalty is a very rare thing in football these days. And I think Son had opportunities to leave. He obviously had an opportunity to leave like right at the start of his Spurs career, but wanted to kind of fight for his place, which was great, and never really looked back after that. He signed a new contract when the future of the club was kind of really uncertain under Nuno. And I mean, obviously, Nuno's doing an amazing job now. Nuno wasn't a bad manager. It was just a wrong fit at the wrong time. And it just felt like an afterthought because we'd gone through so many other options as managers, and we were desperately trying to keep hold of Harry Kane. And we ended up doing it. But Son signed a new contract during that time, and that loyalty can't be understated. And I just desperately hope, like you said, that we can kind of get him that trophy. I think that someone needs to be signed in the summer to compete with him, to take that load off of him. Look, people say obviously we've got more Yang and Odebear that can all play out there, but again, I think I rate them all. Obviously, I think Mikey Moore has got the highest potential out of the lot, and I think we're missing Odebear a lot at the moment. But you still need to sign someone if you're gonna. It's like Mo Salah, right? At Liverpool, look, Salah's obviously better than Son, and he's showing that now. Obviously, there was a time I think they were closer, obviously. But you think about Liverpool, if they're going to give him a 2 or 3 year deal, because he's still proving that he can play at that level. That's going to be what, 60 million over 2 years, 2 or 3 years. That's what it's going to cost to replace him anyway. So whatever we're giving Son, it's kind of a similar, not quite the same, but it's a similar thing where, like, well, you're going to need to spend that sort of money to replace. You're going to have to spend big money to replace him, basically, which we need to do. Whereas Salah, I think, is a little bit different in terms of the fact that he is, proven obviously at that level that they would need to spend huge money to replace him. But Spurs need to do that as well. But I think still having Son around is no bad thing, because if you can rest him, manage him, have him coming off the bench, have him firing in cup competitions next year. I also think, though, a part of it is the system, but. Yeah, I think it's the right call.
Yeah, I think it's. I do think it's a system. The decline of Son. His output is still very good, and his underlying numbers are really good, and they're promising, and they do prove that he's still got it. I do think he's on the decline, but I feel like you're saying, the system. I think he's a bit too wide. I think if you give him the license to sort of invert or roam or be a bit more direct, I think you'd get a better output from him. But I feel like if we had a dribbly winger on the other side, I think that would get the best out of Son, because Son. I was listening to the Lily White Lab on is it Kish on
Yeah.
the lab with Flav? He
Yeah.
was saying that Brennan Johnson and Son, they're both one touch, then finishers. You don't want them really in the build up, and I completely agree. I think that's spot on because
certainly not at the same time, which I think was
at the same
was
time,
kind of Kish's point, and that's something that a lot of people have been banging on all season. You need that variety in the wide areas. You can't have two of exactly the same profile. Certainly not. I don't think it's as bad when, say, if they're both kind of more dribbly creators. I think that's fine. That works more than if they are both. But you can't have Johnson and Werner. You can't have Son and Johnson. It just doesn't really work. It doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Unless you are playing counter-attacking football where you're going to be running into open space more. But when teams want to sit back, especially if you go 1-0 down in the game, which, you know, how many games? Obviously, I think the Newcastle game was the first game we'd broken the curse of going 1-0 down at home. And we've turned it around in some of the games, but not all the time. We've gone 1-0 down at home virtually in every league game so far this season. So, you know, you can't. There's not always going to be the game's not always going to be set up for Son and Johnson. Whereas if you were playing more counter-attacking football all the time and allowing teams onto you, then that's fine. But it doesn't work for
us. I mean, I don't really want to go here because it's not a thing at the moment at all. But I feel like if worst comes to worst, Ange does go in the summer, and we do bring in like an Iraola, I feel like that system would get the best out of Son. Or something along those lines. I don't even want to say that because I think that's almost like me. I don't want Ange gone. Not at the moment. But I do think that the system isn't suited for him. He's being someone that isn't him. And you kind of need to give him that freedom and that license. But again, if he starts doing that, then the system sort of fails. I still think he's a good presser. I think he's a brilliant presser. I think you hit the nail on the head. You see the best of him when we're playing more counter-attacking, because he's lethal 1v1 in front of goal with space to run into, and teams know now how to deal with him. They'll sit back in a low block, and he's almost forced to play it backwards and sort of slow an attack down, which I guess like frustrates fans. It frustrates me sometimes, but there's still a player there, and I kind of think it's the perfect scenario, him signing 1-year contract, because you've got 3 players that aren't quite ready yet, that maybe in 2 years' time they'll be that player, or they'll be showing the levels that we expect them to in Mikey Moore, Yang, and Odebear. And it's like that perfect mantle. It's like Ninja Turtles with that the masters holding the little turtles, and then they're like adults, and he's holding them up. That's gonna be Son with Yang, Mikey Moore, Odebear, and whoever else we may bring in. But I'm happy with it. I think it's a smart move. And I mean, another year of Sonny is like, you just love him. You love having him in the club. I can't imagine the Spurs without Son at the moment.
Yeah. I also think it's so easy for like rival fans to sort of say like, oh well, you know, you need to kind of move players on like this if they've come to their kind of they're over the hill, so to speak. And I think Son is on his way over the hill for sure. But like, any club makes exactly the same decision with someone like Sonny, because especially if you are trying to build a quality squad, if Son, in an ideal world, if Son becomes more of a rotation player next season, having someone with that quality on your bench is exactly what big clubs should be looking to do. Mm-hmm. Whether we will do that or not, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see how much of an impact Yang has this season. And obviously, the good thing about Yang, and to be fair, and Moore and Odebear, is that they can all play on both sides. Whereas I still think that opens up the possibility to go and sign another winger. I do. And I think that has to happen. I do think that has to happen. Obviously, there's been links to Kolo Muani as someone who can play out there as well. As I think, again, he's predominantly being brought in as a striker, though, to compete with Solanke, which, again, I think is smart, because I think, obviously, Richarlison is back now, but it's last chance saloon in it, really, because we know that he's probably the club are going to actively try and look to move him on in the summer. Richarlison, I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I ate my words, but he's not going to hit anywhere near enough of a hot streak between now and the end of the season to show exactly why he should be trusted to be here still. Whether that comes down to a lack of form or injuries, or a lack of form as a result of injuries, then it is what it is. But he still needs to move on. But I do think with the wingers that we have got at the club, those young wingers that we've spoken about. Obviously, also like with someone like Moore, his future could potentially be more inside the pitch anyway. Maybe we've spoken about that before about where we kind of see him long term as maybe a 10. I still think I think any player like that can play anywhere across that front line. I do believe that. Maybe not up front, but I think that versatility of those three youngsters should open up the club to be able to go and sign another actual This is our left winger. Like this is someone who's going to be the Son replacement, basically. Someone who's like 23, 24, or maybe a little bit older. I think 23, 24 is a sweet spot, and go and get him in. But be interesting to see if they actually do that. I think they have to. But yeah, I think this is I think it's the right call.
You said about like having Son off the bench, and it's something that sort of annoyed me about Spurs for a while, is that we've never really had that star quality coming on and fearing the opponent. The amount of times where we've been playing Man City and you're winning the game and then you look at the bench and you think, fuck me, Foden's coming on, De Bruyne is coming on, and you're thinking, okay, like this game's over, it's done. Do you remember the semi-finals of the FA Cup? I think it was 2017, was it? And it was Chelsea beat us 4-2. We were winning that game, and you look to the bench, and Hazard and Diego Costa were coming on, and you're thinking, oh my god, they're going to turn this game round, and they did. Hazard got the assist to that Matic thunder cunt in the top corner, and we haven't had that, and I feel like a fresh Son off the bench, a Brennan Johnson off the bench when the game's stretched. I know people might laugh at that, but I feel like he could be a really good catalyst, Brennan Johnson, because of his pace and his directness in behind. Those types of players off the bench, I think it would strike fear in the opponents if they've been having to deal with really threatening players all game, and then they're the ones that come on and replace them. I think that's a good system to have in place. And I think what Son needs is, I think he needs some leaders around him. I don't think he can be one of the main. Kulusevski stepped up. Obviously, you got Maddison, Romero, but I think we need more leaders to help Son, because obviously Son's the captain, but I don't know if he is the shouting sort of captain. I think he sort of leads by example. He's the most loved player in the dressing room. But I think we need more out and out leaders around him to just sort of assist him and assist this young group. But yeah, I don't have any complaints. I think it's actually the right move. One more year with Son. I think everyone can be grateful. Yeah. How do you feel then coming away from the Newcastle game then, mate? Because I felt really numb and deflated, but I couldn't, you can't knock the effort from the players. And it's not a loss where you can put any blame on the manager, I don't think. I thought he actually coached probably a draw with the players available, which is pretty impressive. At half time when he's bringing Dragusin off, playing Reguilon, Gray, Spence, Porro, Austin. Fucking hell. I genuinely, when at half time we were losing 2-1, and I was like, this is going to be my first cucking experience. This is what it's going to be like to feel cucked. And it weren't. It wasn't. We got a clean sheet. It was a 0-0 second half. I'd say that's a positive. But what it was clear that if we had Van der Ven and Romero and we had these established players, Vicario, I really think we would have breezed that. We would have breezed them. I thought Newcastle, I did think they could have gone up a couple more gears. I think they
especially second half.
They saved their legs. They time wasted. The time wasting was atrocious. They shithoused their way through that game. Second half, they definitely saved their legs. I think they were probably in gear 2 the whole game. We'll get into the refereeing in a bit, but I do think they didn't. They knew they'd won that game, and they sort of managed it quite well. I think their pressing structure was interesting because Brandon Austin, again, we're going to get into Brandon Austin. Brandon Austin was going long. We were seeing the goal kicks or when we're playing out for back. Brandon Austin was going long a lot, but they were going man to man. Dan Burn at one point was on the edge of our box, marking Kulusevski, and then they'd go long and Botman would around maybe 70% of the time would beat Solanke in the air, and they'd sort of turn over the ball, or they'd try and make it a hard game for us to just keep playing our football. But apart from that, I did think we actually did all right. The effort was there, and it was proof that the players are playing for the manager. And they're all dead on their feet. We're so skin and bone at the moment, but I think it was a really promising performance. And if we did have our best players, Ange was right at the end of the game. Everyone was laughing at him, but we would have won that game. I wholeheartedly believe that. But what was your sort of, give us a recap on your thoughts of the game?
Yeah, pretty similar to you, really. To be honest, I was proud of the effort, 100%, and the application. I don't think you could have asked for much more from the squad or the manager, given the circumstances in that game against a really tough opposition. I thought there was some really outstanding, encouraging individual performances that I think a couple of them we needed to kind of reaffirm, okay, this player is actually important to us. One of those was Porro. I thought Porro was brilliant in that game.
Yeah,
the quality of cross for the goal is ridiculous. And I think his defending was good. Ben Money's, like, we always talk about the fact that he seems to leave space. I think the system means that he is always isolated 1v1. It never really happens to a Doggy or Spence on the other side. I just think it tends to happen to Porro where teams are able to kind of switch out quickly. And look, he's up against Gordon, who is one of the best wingers in the league, even though he's a fucking cheating bastard a lot of the time. All right, he broke his nose, fair play, but a lot of other stuff, I don't know, I'm still rattled from the referee and stuff. It's just bollocks. I thought, yeah, Porro was great. I thought Jed Spence is not the answer, so there's no point in going to like detail about his centre-back performance, but he did really well. He did really, really well. You couldn't have
fucking love Jed Spence.
Mate, honestly, again, and he's going to have game time. He's going to have a run now. Well, fingers touch wood, he doesn't get injured, but he's going to have a run, isn't he? He's going to have a run of games, which is really positive now with the Doggy's injury. Obviously, I still think Spurs should sign a left back in January, but you know, at least you know you can fully trust him. I thought he had a poor first half, Spence, to be fair. I thought it was one of our. I thought he got done in getting behind a couple of times by Murphy, and sometimes his positioning. But again, left back, right back playing left back kind of thing. It's just like there are reasons for that as well. And I thought we played really well. I thought Bergvall was excellent. Again, up against one of the toughest midfields in the league, and not just physically, but they are brilliant. Like Tonali, I think is almost become a little bit underrated because we've hardly seen him. I thought he's great, isn't he? And Guimaraes, we know, is world class. Yeah. World class, borderline world class. Joelinton, as much as he's a fucking knobhead, is brilliant. It was such a tough test.
It's really balanced.
Yeah, it's really balanced.
A lot of energy.
Yeah, a lot of energy, a lot of quality, a lot of, I wouldn't say bounds of creativity, but they are very, efficient and direct at getting the ball to that front line. They're just snappy. They're great. And I thought the fact that Bergvall physically stood up to them. I didn't think the midfield balance of Bergvall and Sarr worked in that first half, particularly, to be honest. I thought sometimes when we were trying to play out from the back, they were kind of both they kind of pushed on a little bit too much. That's where you kind of missed that anchor, that six, to kind of hold things together a little bit. And I think the gap between our midfield and defence was very, very open if Newcastle turned the ball over. But second half, it was a lot better because they were allowed to have the ball. And then I think the midfield balance actually got better when Bergvall came off. But I think his individual performance, I thought he was fantastic. And I think it was one of those ones where obviously there was the reaction of the substitution, there was booing. I still think that was a bit pathetic, to be honest. I understand the frustration.
My hands up.
You were on did you go? Oh, you were there, weren't you? Did you boo?
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I'm just like,
mate, mob mentality. I'm sorry, I got carried away.
Yeah, boo. Yeah, fair.
I did catch myself being like, "Why am I fucking booing?"
It's a weird.
I felt like a dickhead. I felt I felt so bad.
Yeah, I get it, but it's like there are still reasons why he's making that decision. Like nobody wanted to see Bergvall come off. Like
it was just an emotion. It was an emotional reaction. Like it was,
yeah.
Because afterwards I was like, actually, no, that's good because we were playing Liverpool in the midweek. Like we got it, and that will do him. He has to. I think he has to. But I felt stupid for that. I was like, what a fucking dickhead. Like, why am I? It was sort of like a boo. Yeah, like that. I held it in. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everyone's. I don't know. Like, he's an 18-year-old kid who's shown signs of physical fatigue towards end of the games, and you need to bring Maddison on to try and unlock the door. Maddison's not playing on Wednesday. Obviously, he can't play. I thought Maddison did really well when he came on as well, to be fair. But Bergvall, it was one of those games where, obviously, we've spoken about before how like every cameo he's kind of been getting better and better and better and better. Obviously, started against Southampton, was great in that game, and then just kind of gone from strength to strength there. But that was the making of him, that game. I genuinely feel like that. And I think, look, we said at the start of the season, or I feel like I said it, that I would not be surprised at all if he breaks in as a starter in this team at some point. And look, that's happened because of injuries and illness. Look, if everyone's available, he doesn't start. But the fact that he's shown the ability to really stand up. Look, the thing is, I made a video on TikTok yesterday talking about like 4 Spurs players whose stock I think is going to massively rise this year. And I didn't say him or Gray because I was like, well, to me, like I know they're 18-year-old kids and they will continue to get better, but it's like they are just first team players now. They are, aren't they? It's like they are just, well, you're going to have to put like Archie, look what Archie, especially Gray. Like we know that they are going to, I feel like anyway, like they're really special talents and they're going to go from strength to strength. But I didn't name either of them because it was like, well, they're just players, aren't they now? Like it's just that kind of what it feels like. It doesn't feel like they're on the, obviously they're going to get better, but it doesn't feel like they're on the cusp. It feels like they're just there. But yeah, it was super frustrating. It was. I felt it was gutting after the game because I thought that the players did. I think Ange was right, and look, Ange came in for a lot of flack from neutrals and rivals and people who don't like him after his interview after the game. But I thought it was great because it showed fight. It showed again that the players are playing for him, as did the performance. Because I've been reading Ange Ball again, and it's amazing how many parallels there are to like previous jobs and stuff like that. I'm not that far through it, but it's kind of still in the Australia like early days and stuff when he's there before he went to Brisbane Roar. And it's like when he's talking about young players and stuff like that, it's just about like you can really see why they buy into him because one, it's about kind of making it fun and stuff like that and training and stuff like that. And naturally, young players they're not going to buckle really anyway. It's going to, I think Alex said this on the Fighting Cock yesterday. It's going to be like if you lose the dressing room, you're not going to lose the kids. You're going to lose the experienced players, aren't you? And Spurs don't have a lot of older heads, but we have still got a lot of players in their prime that are still Solanke fighting like a dog every week. Kulusevski fighting like a dog every single week. Maddison coming on. Like Maddison would be described in the past as maybe a bit of a flaky character. Yes, he's had some poorer performances this season, but you can't tell me that Maddison isn't a player that's playing for the manager. Even though I think he would be a player that maybe be accused of that. Romero, I think, could be a player that could be accused of that due to his temperament, maybe, and the way that he came out and said, like talking about Conte and stuff like that in the past about like, I want to go and these kind of things. I don't. It was obviously they didn't like him, but he comes out and publicly backs the manager. You know, so I think the harmony is in a good place. Obviously the results are unacceptable. And that is where Ange has got to change. And ultimately, the results might be what makes his head fall, you know. But
yeah,
I think it was really good to, in the midst of a really dark period where we've put in some really poor, uninspiring performances, that was really encouraging. And it shows that there might be a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. But the problem is that the light at the end of the tunnel is quickly shut down by the fact that our next 2 games are, well, 2 of our next 3 games are Liverpool and Arsenal. But
go on, carry on. No,
go
on. Well,
no, go on.
Well, I was going to say, like, the boos after the Bergvall substitution was kind of indicative, I think, to we're in a tough spot, and I think we're kind of looking for excuses to start throwing our toys out of pram in regards to, like, towards the manager, trying to look for blame.
Yeah.
Where I think Postecoglou didn't do anything wrong in that game. I think he actually coached a good performance. And I found myself just looking at him. I was in the stands. I was opposite him. And I just found myself just being like, I love him so much. And I want him to succeed so bad. I don't know whether he will. I don't actually really have any hope, but I just love him. And I'll give my third nut to see him with a trophy in his hand as a Spurs manager. I mean, there was a moment. He's just someone you just want to get behind straight away. Like I think in the first 5 minutes, Joe Linton. We'll get into the ref again later, but Joe Linton, when he elbowed Bergvall in the face, I looked over and Postecoglou was having a right. He was losing the shit, having a right go to Who's that gimp for Newcastle? He has like main character syndrome. Yeah. He was having a go at him. They were like, yeah, and I was just like, mate, I love Postecoglou. Yeah. I don't know. He's just such a person to get behind. He's just such a leader. And yeah, you can criticize him. I do. And there's definitely things he needs to sort out. But if you're looking at like in isolation, this game, I think he got everything spot on. But I feel like fans will look for the little details for an excuse to blame him, which I get. We're in a really, because of the circumstances, we're in a really emotional state. and that change needs to happen at the club anyways in regards to the chairman and stuff like that. I think we know change needs to happen, but Postecoglou, in terms of his future, this game wasn't anything to do with him, the loss or anything like that. But the Bergvall thing, what I loved about him is that, wait, did you have anything else to add?
No, well, with Bergvall, with Bergvall, I think John said this on the Fighting Cock yesterday about, like, it's not until you kind of watch him properly live you realize that, because when, like, do you know what it is? It's like an aesthetic thing. I think almost made us think that he's just this really pretty, tidy midfield player that's got, you know, blonde quiff that's a bit small, that's
little
like
twink,
little bit of a twink. He will put it about, and I love that.
He's built like a brick shithouse with little twinkle toes, mate.
He is a player. I really think he is a player. Like, you can see it technically. You saw it in the drive for the first goal. He's still raw. He's going to make mistakes. Like, obviously with the handball, like, he's kind of stretching and playing a pass that might not be in. But again, it's such fine margins. If that pass goes past Joelinton, we completely break the press and we're running at them for 2-0. It's, you know, there'll be mistakes. He's not perfect, but I think the ceiling is kind of just getting higher by the cameo. But yeah, they did really well. I thought Solanke again was amazing. Like, just the way he works. He got beaten a couple of times. Obviously, he actually lost the ball for the second goal, didn't he? I actually thought Botman, when his back was into Botman did well against him. But in terms of his work rate and everything else and his goal, like, he couldn't. The heading chances that he had near the end, the second one, the one that Dubravka saved, I don't think he get more than that. He just doesn't get quite enough purchase. He's thrown himself at it. It's unlucky, and he, without him and Kulusevski, I actually think Kulusevski's performance kind of went under the radar because he wasn't maybe as good as he has been, but he played like a leader, I thought. Like,
he struggled in the first half to get into the game, I think.
Yeah.
The second half definitely went under the radar.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. And also, like, you could see in the way that he was working and stuff like that, even in the first half, he was desperately trying to, like, you know, be there. And we were unlucky. It was one of them. I think you have to isolate that game from a lot of the other shit that we've seen recently.
Yeah, 100%. Because the performances and our league results, that just looks like another loss, and it looks worrying on face value. But if you actually look at the context, and that is one of the games where you have to just blame injuries, which I think there's that misconception of we've got injuries, so the losses are irrelevant. But no, I think there's definitely things to the way we've played, despite having injuries, where you can put certain blame on the manager, you can blame certain tactics being used, but that game was like a perfect example of we were just so lightweight and the players gave it all, managed to set up well, and we got done. But the reaction was that, I think the reaction was quite positive when as soon as the whistle went, Postecoglou went, consulted his players, clapped the fans. The players were going around, clapped the fans. Postecoglou was waving to his family in the crowd. Like, it seemed quite like a bit deflated. Definitely the mood was down, but I think everyone could just appreciate that. It was just one of those games that just didn't work out for us. I mean, on another day, we would have battered them, I think, and it would have been a really good afternoon. And that's what the frustration was. But on Bergvall, sorry, lastly on him, I think it's the courage he showed. In the first half, it was so frustrating because we were getting pressed significantly, and like throughout, they were really good on the press at Newcastle, man for man. And from the stands, I don't know if you can see it on TV, but it didn't look like anyone was showing for the ball except Bergvall. And he, as an 18-year-old kid, actually led by example and almost took up a leadership role in trying to receive the ball and trying to make things happen. The courage he showed, way more courage than the likes of, I mean, I know Sar's younger, but like Johnson, Werner, these more experienced heads in the team. Bergvall was the one proper showing for it. I know he's at the core of the team and he kind of needed to be that player. But as an 18-year-old in that game, when you're being marked by Tonali's, Guimaraes, Joelinton, it's so easy to go through that game, and he didn't. And he really held his own. And like the first moment, he clattered into Livramento. He was putting himself about. He body checked a player when he was dribbling with the ball and sent him flying. Like, he is big and his frame's big. And actually, was it Simon Heung-min who said that he's his body's a little bit similar to Bellingham at his age. So when he's Bellingham's age now, Bellingham's a massive player and bullies players, and I feel like his frame's going to be similar to that, but he's still got that gliding nature to his play. That sort of it looks like he's dancing across the pitch. Some of his ball, the switching that he was doing with the ball, just on a plate for the players, was like unbelievable, so aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
But he is a bit like gritty, like nitty gritty. Like he's not afraid to put himself about, and it's just like perfect. And there was a moment where we won a corner, and he ran up to the south stand and started jeering the fans up. And I was thinking, like, mate, this kid's 18. He's gonna be so good. He looks like a young leader. Him and Archie Gray, they look like young leaders. They didn't look out of place one bit. You're looking at how thin our squad is, and they're holding their own. And they, like you're saying, they are established players now in the team, and they have to kick on now. We have to keep trusting them, because with Gray and Bergvall, I was saying that because we hadn't seen too much of Bergvall, and there was moments in other games where he's come on, he's made a couple of fouls. There's definitely things that in his game that he needs to iron out. And I was saying the best way to do that is just give him as much game time possible. So if we can't promise him that at Spurs, then we have to loan him out, and he has to get experience, because he's got every mineral and all the elements to be a top player.
Yeah.
He hasn't got anything that really, I mean, everything's going to get better. All his attributes are going to get better and more refined, but he hasn't got anything that it's like, oh, he's not strong enough yet. He needs to strengthen up. He's not this, he's not that. He has everything. He just needs game experience, like in-game experience, what the right decisions are, decision making, and that comes through playing. But where our hand's been forced and we have to play him, it's perfect for him, and it's perfect for his development. And now I think he's going to kick on, because he has every attribute, him and Archie Gray. And that's where we're linked with, like, well, we're not really linked with him, but people have been touting about Douglas Luiz and players like that. I don't think we should sign any more midfielders unless we get rid of Bissouma or Bentancur, because we don't want to block the pathway to these players, because they're going to be so special.
Yeah.
And the next 2 to 3 years, they're going to become incredible players. Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall, right at the heart of our team. But I was so impressed by his performance, and it's positive, and I think his confidence is going to shoot. It's going to skyrocket. We need to start him again in Liverpool and sort of make that statement to him that he's an established player.
Yeah.
I was really, really impressed. I want to talk about Dragusin.
Yeah. Can I just say something before you say that? What's mad?
Yeah, go on.
You know what you said about like the Bellingham thing there? Bergvall's he's taller than Bellingham. I did not realize. I just literally looked it up. Bergvall's this is what I mean. He's deceptively physical. Like
he's like 6'2".
He's 6 foot near. He's like 6'1". Bellingham's they're basically the same height. I think, but Bellingham's 1.86 meters. Bergvall's 1.87. So he is technically taller than him, but they're basically the same. That's mad. I never fucking realized that. And you think about again that physical development and maturity over the next few years. This kid could be. I think he's going to be something different to what we actually maybe thought he was going to be, in terms of
I think so.
Fit and profile, but also he's still going to have that technical elegance that we all noticed. Like when we signed him last year, and I actually spoke about this I spoke about this when I did my video on Kinsky yesterday. When Spurs are signing players that you've never fucking heard of, nobody had heard of Lucas Bergvall before we signed him. Nobody had heard of Antonin Kinsky before we signed him, even though he's playing in Europe, like in Europa League and stuff like that. Nobody had heard of him. Even the greatest tacticos out there probably wouldn't have heard of these kids. So, when you're watching like compilations and stuff like that, you're only seeing the best, because it's like, okay, there's this kid that we've signed. He's very young. These are exactly all the things that he's good at. I don't remember like standing up necessarily and taking notice of Bergvall's physicality in any of those compilations that we watched before we signed him. It was all about the passing. It was all about the skills. It was all about these amazing goals that he'd score. But now he's come to Tottenham. He's smashing cunts everywhere. It's brilliant. I love it. It's just like, oh, you've got that as well. Brilliant. Like,
I think he's surprising the opposition as well. I think they're like,
think
fuck
so.
me, and they're looking at him thinking, fuck.
This guy's just like, like Odegaard, where he's going like this with his hair and that all the time.
Yeah.
He's a little bit of a pussy. Like, I think they're looking at Bergvall thinking, we can get at you, and he's going, nah, fuck off. Like Jolinton trying to catch 100%. Up with him for the first goal. It's like, see you later.
Yeah, he's quick. He's really quick as well. I didn't realize how when he's on the ball he glides and the strides, and Livramento that first 2 minutes you could see him on the floor being like fuck, who was that? And then you could see Bergvall and Bergvall was
probably thinking,
Isak,
probably Kulusevski. It's probably Kulusevski.
Yeah. No. And they were thinking as if it's that little twink there, but then he's not. He's a big twink. He's I don't know. I was having a stroke there. Malfunction. He is. I mean, he's everything and more that we expected of him now. I think, because he's taken a bit of time to come in, and we expected big things around mid-season, which it is now. And I feel like he's going to kick on. What do you expect of him? Like, how significant do you think his part to play is for the remainder of the season? Obviously, with competitions, I think Galatasaray, he looked a bit overwhelmed. There's been performances, but again, comes through playing. I mean, the Joel Linton handball, I guess, because it counted as a goal, was technically a mistake from Bergvall, that he made that bit of a risky pass when we were a bit opened up, a bit vulnerable. But
it was
these
a poor
things are going to
pass
be
for
ironed
him,
out.
to be fair. I think it wasn't a great
Yeah,
pass
that is
from
true.
him.
That's true. He was on the stretch. So I do think there's certain elements of his game that through game experience, like I've said, they will be ironed out, they'll be refined. But he's about an amalgamation of like 5 unbelievable players into one. Like, I can't describe who he's most like, because like you're saying, when we signed him, everyone was like, oh, he's like Frankie de Jong. Then we're saying, oh no, he's built like a Bellingham type. But then his passing's like fucking Tony Kroos. It's like, who is he? He's mental. His potential is scary.
Yeah.
But obviously, you still have to harness it. You still have to. His development still has to be well managed. He can't get ahead of himself. We have to manage his minutes, but in a way, we can't. He's so good that we can't stunt his development at the same time. And actually, rival fans are starting to notice him as well. When you look at social media, you got Man United fans showing that he did like trials for him back in the day, and they're saying, "Look at the one that got away because of Brexit. We couldn't sign him. He's a Man United fan." Or the people. Rival fans are fanboying over one of our talents, and it's exciting. It's exciting, especially in such a miserable moment in the club, to have someone shining through and being our shining light, or that you're looking and you're thinking, well, the future does look bright. It's just the now doesn't look so good.
Yeah, and that's also like again, obviously Alex from Bristol is not very pro Ange at all, and he was saying that the thing is that. And even if you don't want Ange, that's fair enough. Like, again, we've said that so many times before, but like he said something that is actually true. Like, Ange isn't the project. He's just someone that's there to kind of help this project on its way. And then maybe it is someone else that takes over, or maybe it is him that bears all the fruits from it potentially. But, you can see, regardless of what you think of the manager, there is something there. We need more quality in our signings. We need more proven talent to come in and kind of help to help Spurs and make us better, but also as much as anything to help these younger players who are going to be the core and the lifeblood of the club, hopefully for the next decade, to help them on their path to be superstars. Because I think that, I think Gray and Bergvall have got everything. I think they've got everything in their locker to beat that. I really do think that. The future's bright. It might not be now, and Ange might not be the guy, but there is something there.
Well, that was the frustration with the summer. I think everyone could see that the future is looking significantly stronger, but every young signing, but we're thinking, but this is an Ange project right now, and he's so unlikely to be the manager that gets the best out of, or that gets their best their best selves in the future, because he's probably not going to make it, because we haven't signed anyone for the now, which is a frustrating thing. So 100% I agree, and I'm thinking. I mean, we need to do everything in our power in January, and we're going to get onto transfers to backhand for the now, to help him in this season and see if he can turn it around, because he deserves that. He does deserve that, and he was hung out to dry a little bit with the signings in the summer, like Bar Solanke. But I mean, in a way, the injuries have helped the development of these players, because they're playing way more than they thought they should, and that is good. I mean, you're seeing Gray turn into almost like a leader in the team, and he's playing centre back. Who would have thought that? Who would have seen it? I know you said that you saw him playing centre back because we didn't have the numbers, and that's come to fruition. But I mean, we're seeing him have to use these players, and they are helping him. These signings are actually helping him. I know they're not ready yet, and you're going to have that growing pain, which is unfair on Ange a little bit, but it's good for the players. And if you're looking at if it doesn't work out for Ange Postecoglou in the summer, we've got we are a much more attractive team than when Postecoglou came in, with the players we have to our disposal. Like I mean, on offer. If a manager comes in, you're thinking, wow, look at all this talent, that if I can grow with them in the next 2 years, 3 years, I could have a super team. because these players' potential are crazy. It's just the now. They're not quite ready now. Same with the Yangs, the Mikey Moores, the Odebears. But in 5 years' time, they're gonna be incredible, unless injuries stop that. Or do you know what I mean? And I think that is attractive for for any future managers. So I know I completely agree with Alex his point, because it isn't Ange. Ange isn't the be all or end all, but you don't want him going without having a deserved crack with proper established signings for the now. Yeah, you can't have another manager unbacked. But I'd still think we're an attractive club, sort of thing, because of these young talents. Talking about young talents, bit ironic. I do want to bring up Dragusin, because what I've found frustrating with him, I don't want to touch on him too much. I don't want to go too negative. But I was thinking about this up there. I kind of want to hear your take on it. With Dragusin, the thing that frustrates me so much, I know he was ill, but he was hooked off at half time, and actually we didn't look like we missed him, and he was our only centre back available, and we had Spence and Gray, and I know it was the game state was different. Newcastle just hanging on. Isak was well sort of contained by Spence and Gray. The frustrating thing about Dragusin is that we signed him knowing that he developed not alongside, but under the sort of leadership of Bonucci, Chiellini, some of the best centre backs in our generation, but also best leaders of our generation. My frustration with him is that he is an old school defender. He is a throwback, but he doesn't conduct himself in a way that sort of goes hand in hand with that type of defender. I would have thought that he'd be the leader, that he lead like that defender, to be commanding and no nonsense, shouting at his fullbacks, shouting at Archie Gray, commanding. But he just looks out of place. I don't want to go too much into it. It's just like a passing thought, but because it was frustrating. I know he was ill, and I know he's given us a all, but I mean, it just more and more it just looks like such a poor signing, because there's not even that leadership. He's mute. He doesn't talk, and you're looking at Gray being the one that takes accountability and who's more of a shouter, more of a leader than Dragusin. You're looking at this like, I know he's 22, and I'm not shaming him because it's just his personality, but I'm just thinking I would have thought with the backline that we had that he would be the one to step up and be dictating, and he's not, and it's really frustrating. And I do think he's not going to last long at the team. You're talking about young talent. Sometimes you do bring in players that they're young talent and they don't. Nothing comes about it. I don't want to touch on it. I think that's a bit harsh that I'm going after him. It's not down to him. I thought he gave it his all, but because he was ill, I just thought it was interesting that the fear of bringing Dragusin off at half time, bringing Reguilon on, it didn't really have any significant impact. That's why I wanted to talk about it. But I was thinking, like, he's grown up with these leaders, some of the best leaders. Buffon, he would have played with Buffon, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, maybe not. But it's a bit frustrating when we're so in need of leaders in the team. I was a bit disappointed that the performances he's shown. You know what? Let's move on, because I don't want to just dig him out for a second.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's just he's just not a good fit, is he? Like, I saw a tweet earlier that was like, he'd be amazing at Forest. Like, swap him for Murillo. We'll have Murillo. Like, more of a ball player.
Yeah, he would be. Yeah,
him and Milinkovic at the back for Forest. That'd be great. Like, I think he is more of a. Again, it's a bit hard to kind of go in and divulge or dissect it too much of the weekend, because apparently him and Gray were in bed all week. So yeah, I know what you mean though. I think a lot of it comes from confidence, because we did see that real, like, you know, that warrior kind of side of defenders in the Euros. But then I suppose playing for Romania at the Euros is different to. It's going to sound a bit weird, but like, it's almost not easier to get up for, but like, it's massive, isn't it? Like, it's absolutely huge. And he was, you know, it was, you know, they surprised a few teams and stuff like that. And whereas for Tottenham, it's like clearly things aren't going well at the moment during the league season, so confidence is naturally a little bit low. But I just think he's a bad fit, and I think that I wouldn't sell him in January, because I don't think we need as many centre backs as we need as many centre backs as possible. But like, and to sign another one, but in the summer, I think there's an opportunity to cash in on him, because there will still be interest, because people can see the potential in there. So I don't think Spurs will have trouble getting rid of him.
I think. I mean, last thing on that, because I'm a bit annoyed that I brought it up, because I think it's a bit. There's so much to talk about, but the thing that frustrates me is that he's clearly not a good fit for the system. It's clearly a bad signing and a bad recruitment for a Postecoglou team. Maybe they were looking at him as just a future player for us. But the stuff that he could bring that's in his control alongside the system that is what's frustrating me. Like he's the established centre back. He needs to be commanding. I don't see that from him. That's where my frustration comes. It's like the things that you can control, he's not, and he's sort of developed alongside Bonucci and Chiellini. I thought that he'd be able to. That would be a trait passed to him. When you see him for Romania, and he is like jeering up the crowd, pumping his fists, and I don't want to talk about it too much. But I was a bit frustrated, and it's frustrating that Archie Gray, an 18-year-old centre midfielder, is being that more established dictator in the back line. I'd quickly, Brandon Austin, I want to shake your hand. I don't want to talk about him too much, but he deserves all the credit. I mean, he got man of the match. I thought he was good. And it's kind of surprising that he's not been the one that's playing over Forster. I mean, it's one game. We can't really judge him. We don't know how Forster would have been in that game. But I was really, I was just pleased for him. I was really pleased because obviously he's waited so long for this opportunity, and actually for his career, he's put himself on the market. I think there'll be Championship clubs just looking at one Premier League performance. Yeah. It's how you conduct yourself. It's how he was coming out. He was putting himself about, collecting all the crosses, the corners, set pieces, getting hurt in the process, and it's like, well, he's showing that bravery and that maturity. For a goalkeeper that has such little experience in in-game experience. I thought his feet was fine. I thought his feet was competent to an extent. And he just went about it, and it wasn't like, I know everyone was aware of him, but he was the least of our worries. There wasn't a time where I was like, I'm fucking bricking it with Austin in goal. And that's my biggest sort of compliment to him, that we went a whole game without having to worry about him. And I was really impressed with him. I was really proud of him, and I felt really happy for him because he can take that in his stride. And obviously we signed Kinsky. Really quickly, how fucking bad was the ref? The Joel Linton burn decisions were atrocious. I was losing my head in the ground. I mean, the Joel Linton could have got 4 yellow cards within the first 10 minutes, let alone the handball, and also the Burn thing was ridiculous. Burn comes out waving his arms. It stops the counter attack. 2 minutes after taking out, was it Bergvall? I can't remember. On the counter attack.
I think it was one of it.
I mean, completely bottled it. The ref completely bottled it, and he was just making. And talking about body language, you're looking at the ref. His confidence was at an all-time low as well, because obviously the fans were booing him. We were getting on his back, but he went hiding, and he lost the control of the game from minute one. I thought the shithousery Newcastle were trying to do on us with set pieces and like putting so many bodies, pushing Austin. Burn was being a tosser. And referee was just letting it happen. It was so annoying. It was so infuriating, because it's one of those games where we're so bare-boned, and we need we need that game to be played with a level of competence from the referee. Yeah. And he didn't give us. We didn't get any luck. And I know you don't really get much luck in football, but you need luck in football, and it sometimes doesn't come. But it was so frustrating that we did everything in our power to try and get a result, and we just didn't get the favours that we deserved. I mean, some of the favours, Newcastle deserved to get 2 players sent off, and deserved to get a goal disallowed, because it was fucking ridiculous. Any thoughts on that? Or do you...
Yeah, I mean, the start of the handball. The handball was a difficult one because it is absolute bollocks.
Yeah,
but the referee and the VAR applied the rules of the game correctly, annoyingly. Even though, like, the laws are the problem. The laws are all over the place, absolutely all over the place.
Yeah.
But because it's one of those things where I think if the referee gives that as handball on the field, I don't think anybody will complain. I don't think anybody will complain about that whatsoever. Just the general physicality and the shithousery annoyed me more than the handball. To be honest, my head was hot about the handball.
Yeah,
But like the other shit, Jolinton, there was that foul on Porro that like completely off the ball so late, didn't even get given.
yeah.
Line, and the thing is, all right, the referee might
Played
not see it.
advantage as well.
I don't think he even played advantage. He didn't signal anything.
Oh, really?
You got clattered, and it was like,
Yeah.
Lino, are you gonna say anything to the ref? No, that was a yellow card on its own. And then
Yeah.
the elbow on Bergvall, he didn't get booked for like the 80th minute, and then he came off. Or did he
Yeah.
come off? I can't remember. It
And
was like
also the time
absolute
wasting coming off from, and the time wasting throughout the whole game.
Isaac
He
as
just sort of
well,
let
yeah.
it. Yeah, and yeah, Isaac. It was just like get a hold of this game. You're letting them shit out their way through the game, and it's just like it's not fair on anyone.
Yeah,
But
it was
the handball, VAR, they're going to abide by the law. The law's bullshit, but that's not something. I think that handball was just on the ref in the moment. The whole stadium saw it. The whole stadium shouted handball, and I think everyone sort of froze. I mean, I think the defending could have been a bit better to sort of to react, but I think everyone was just expect that's a blatant handball. They've stopped a counter attack with a handball. It's out of his silhouette, and then they've just got the ball and scored. And it's not even like it was within 5 seconds the ball was in the net. No. And I was thinking, how's the ref not seeing that? It's fucking atrocious.
The handball law generally is all over the place. So you look at, I thought De Ligt was probably a penalty against Liverpool, but then you look at last night at Forest Wolves. You see that one? I think it was on.
Yeah.
That's like, what's the difference between that? It's just like they're so. It's almost just like they should just go back to like fucking common sense, because they've tied themselves up in knots with so many of these like natural silhouette and like, oh, but he's not it's not intentional, it's out of his body line or all this kind of stuff, and like he's not, he doesn't have time to react to all this kind of stuff. Like, everyone gets the feet. Like, if you stripped all of that away and just said, all right, there's no like, all right, there obviously is a handball law, but there's no jargon around it. I'm just going to go with what my gut call is on this. I think you get a lot better handball decisions, and you get ones that are actually called for like, okay, yeah, that's clear. Like Jolinton the other day, it's like, all right, yeah, that goal doesn't happen unless it hits his hand, like, and it is away from his body. All right, yeah, but because the joke of it is, if Jolinton went and scored himself, the goal would have been disallowed. If Jolinton gets the ball down and has a shot from 30 yards, the goal gets disallowed, because any handball leading to a goal by the goal scorer is deemed an offence. So how can that doesn't make any sense, because Jolinton handling the ball has had equally as much impact on the goal happening as if he were to fucking go and smash it in the net from 30 yards. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Mm-hmm. It's just it's ridiculous. But the burn and like Jolinton basically 4 fouls in that first half, not a card until the 80th minute, and they were cynical fouls as well, just being like, he's just, I like him because he's the sort of player that you wish played for your club, and you can see why they love him so much. Burn is just a fucking, I don't know,
lump, mate. Absolute
I think
lump.
Not to go like proper tin hat Arsenal fan, but like Charlie Eccleshare made a really good point, and it just kind of does feel like Newcastle are refereed to a different standard, where because they're physical, it's like the other team just sort of almost expected to just get on with it because, well, it's Newcastle, and it's like, I don't know, like, I got a bit of stick for saying that from Newcastle fans, but I don't really give a shit because it feels like it does happen. Jolinton getting away with fucking clothesline in the Bournemouth goalkeeper. Even like Guimaraes against Arsenal last year, he just throws his elbow out for like no reason, and it's like that's and again, those ones that don't get given are ridiculous. Darwin Núñez on Sunday, that's a red card on De Ligt, in my opinion. Like the way he just doesn't even, the refereeing generally is a fucking shambles in this country. It's a joke. You've got the best league in the world, and
that João Pedro elbow, fucking hell!
Oh, because
like, if that makes contact, that he's KO'd, mate. That's a UFC move. It was ridiculous when I watched that, and I was like, "Oh my god!" The intention is so there. He's the full talk. He's gone from like he's even followed through with it, and he just missed the guy's head by about a few inches. And it's like, oh, we didn't touch him though. So it's like, what the fuck?
Bollocks. Absolute bollocks.
Anyway, let's move on to the transfer window. We've been quite productive so far, which is encouraging. First of all, thank you to everyone that has joined the live streams, the transfer live streams. I've really enjoyed doing that. It's been really interesting and really enjoyable to sort of gauge everyone's opinion. So thanks so much for getting involved. Ben, you've done a video on Antonin Kinsky. Is that his name? Antonin Kinsky. What have you sort of discovered why you think we've made this deal, and how deal permanent, and how successful do you think he'll be in a Spurs shirt?
I don't know. It's hard to say, really. I think it's an exciting signing. I think he's the perfect kind of fit for what we want as a goalkeeper. Definitely, when you think about the way he can play with the ball at his feet, decent shot stopper as well. Again, like I kind of said it earlier, like when you don't really know much about a player, you're not going to watch compilations and see a load of his weaknesses, are you? That just doesn't really happen. So it emphasizes what his strengths are even more. So I don't think we'll know what his weaknesses are until he actually starts playing for us. But he looks good, man. I've never heard of him. And I don't, like I said earlier, I don't think even the tacticos on football Twitter even heard of the guy before he signed for us. But it's clear they've got a plan in place. I think he will be a competitor to Vicario. Hopefully, hopefully someone that you're not worried about when they come in. He's very, very good with his feet. Very confident, very brave. I think we'll see him play tomorrow. I do think he will. I think he'll be chucked straight in. Potentially, I don't know. Oh, maybe I don't know. Why not? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Go on then.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Fucking play him. Why don't we play it? Just pinging balls in behind Liverpool's defence. Fuck it. Go for it. I'm pleased with the signing. I'm pleased with being proactive. I think it was imperative that we signed a goalkeeper in Jan, and I think they've gone and got. I think it's nobody was enthused about Sam Johnson, were they? So I think with this, it's like
no.
I think what they've done is I think they've done more. They've done something more that I thought they would do in the summer, like go and sign some. Again, it's £12 million. They've not exactly pushed the boat out, but like you're not going to go and sign a backup goalkeeper for more than that, are you? Like really? And if Vicario wasn't that much for himself, and look at the impact that he's been able to have. So yeah, I'm pleased with the sign. I'm just pleased they've addressed it and they're trying to get business done early. It's nothing's going to happen. Not everything is going to happen this week, but it sounds like they're making moves to get our bodies in as well. So I'm glad that we've started in a proactive sense, which is good signs.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his stats and the data behind it, I mean, it's so clear that why we signed him. But his age is so interesting, I think, because he's 21. That is literally a baby for a goalkeeper. And I mean, he's from Czech Republic, isn't he? Petr Cech signed for Chelsea. Everyone thought he was going to be the number 2. He turned out to be Premier League's all-time best goalkeeper, up there with Schmeichel and maybe like Alisson or something like that. And maybe history repeats itself. I think, I mean, his aerial duels was the one where I was like, and his footwork. I mean, the compilations of him using his feet, he's mental and he's so outrageously sort of
those
courageous. It's a bit like
passes. Yeah, there were 2 passes in that compilation where he literally assists, like puts it just right over the top, and they're in on goal. It's like it's fucking mental.
Yeah,
it's like
Trent better fucking watch out. Tomorrow,
I feel good about. I don't want to do this.
We'll get into it. We'll get into it in a sec. Yeah, we'll get into it in a sec because I'm with you. I'm so deluded right now, and I think it's just because I've had a couple of dopamine.
You've had a massive fucking feta and egg baguette, and you're like, we're gonna beat Liverpool. We're gonna beat. Liverpool.
Just Son contract extension, signing Kinsky, who I'd never heard about before we made the announcement. I was just buzzing because it was like, well, this just looks like future planning and looks like a player that fits the profile of Ange Postecoglou, which is just what we need. So someone for the now, but someone who obviously we've got Vicario anyway, so it's not the end of the world if he needs a bit more time. I was happy, and then obviously Bergvall's performance really got me excited. Because you're seeing these players that we've been begging to see, and they're doing a job for us. But we'll get into the Liverpool game in a minute. Kinsky, the thing about him is that the attributes he has, if he does take to the Premier League's physicality, speed, aggression, and he seems quite commanding and experienced, not experienced, but he's got a mature head on his shoulders from the interviews. If he is everything that everyone's talking about, there was a scout for the Athletic had a scout talking about him being really similar to Neuer. It's like, what? Like, I think it's a bit dangerous to start comparing him and have that expectation in your head. But if people are sort of touting about his talent in that way, it is really exciting, and I wouldn't be surprised that in a year's time, because it's been said that he's being the competitor to Vicario, not the established number 2. He's being that like Ortega to Edison. I wouldn't be surprised if there's people saying we need to start playing him if he starts really well.
Yeah, I
But
think
at
you're
the
right.
same time, it's promising because he's so young that everyone's like, okay, he's not ready, but he's still got those raw attributes that need to be refined. And if he gets game time in other competitions, we can be patient with him until he's ready. And we're done now. We're done with our goalkeepers. We don't need to. Like, I think I was so annoyed with Sam Johnson because it seemed like another signing that's just kicking the can down the road. Because
Yeah,
in a year and a half, he'll be the same level as Fraser Forster, and then we're stuck in the same position. But we've gone out, we spent 12 to 15 mil. Apparently, this is a deal that we were probably looking to do in the summer, and it's just been made. We've just been accelerated. We put our foot on the accelerator and made it happen now because we need it to. And it's sorted. Our goalkeeping situation is done for the next 5 years, I think. So it's
yeah.
something that
And
we
you
can
think
just
about
be
Josh,
like, okay, let's go
Josh
with it.
Keeley. You got Josh Keeley and Lucas
Josh
Gunter.
Keeley,
But they
Gunter,
could end
yep.
up being Austin and Whiteman. Well, to be honest, I think if the way that Keeley's been playing at Leyton Orient, if he looks to leave Spurs, he will have suitors 100%.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think Luca Gunter will probably get his first loan next year. Keeley will probably
yeah.
move up to the Championship. So, and
Championship.
they might keep Austin. I think Austin will probably stay third choice goalkeeper. He's homegrown.
Yeah.
And then I think, like you said, the good thing about it, like you said, is that it's something that we've actually addressed, and I don't think people necessarily expected us to do that. So I think it's really, really positive. And I think, like you said as well, like with his attributes, there is potential for him to be a better Premier League goalkeeper than Vicario. And also, it's not like, do you know what it is? I love Vicario, but where there's not as much like, you know, when we signed Lloris, where it was like, obviously, okay, Lloris is a very highly rated goalkeeper who we know is experienced and all this kind of stuff. Well, he wasn't that experienced at the time, but good, solid goalkeeper. Vicario was a bit more an unknown quantity that's proved himself to be important to us. With that now, with Vicario, there's not as much, despite how much we love him, if there was a changing of the guard in the next year, I don't think there wouldn't be as much pushback from the fans of like, oh no, it's like, whereas if it might have been, say, if we'd done the same thing with Lloris, mate, I don't know, like where Lloris was like France captain and stuff like that. Like with Vicario, I don't think it's going to take much to, as much as I love him, if Kinsky starts playing, it's like, let's go.
Well, Vicario's not undroppable, and
No.
that's why it's good, because it's gonna keep him hot on his toes.
Did you see the picture of him on his Instagram story where it was like walking without crutches? It's like, you know,
he starts running down the hallway. He's like, "Look
Yeah.
at me! Like, I'm ready, boss. I'm ready."
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
spitting in
He's
his
not.
gloves, like.
He's not. He's not invincible, is he? He's not one of the players that you think. I mean, he's definitely a player that we're thinking, yeah, he's part of the spine. He's
Yeah,
part of the future.
absolutely.
We need to build it around him, but he's not. He's not like undroppable. And that's why I think we need to bring in a bit of competition for him. We can't have the Fraser Forsters, the Austin, the Whitemans of the world coming in, Sam Johnston. Like, that would have been a shite transfer, because Vicario would never be bothered, because Vicario's younger as well. He'd be the future. It'd be weird to start dropping him for Sam Johnston, but this kid seems like a future superstar, another one. But if the kid starts coming out collecting corners, coming out and bullying attackers and not being pushed about, it will actually just make Vicario want to step up, because Vicario's got that mentality of constantly improving himself, and that's the thing. You're going to see an improvement in Vicario 100%. Otherwise, I mean, if this kid is what everyone says he is, Vicario is at risk a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm not saying for the now, and I'm not expecting that, but it's a possibility, and Vicario is going to be thinking it's a possibility. I mean, Kinsky could be the second coming to carry us and fucking drop a couple howlers tomorrow, and we'd be like, oh shit. But that's the thing. He's got age on his side. He's not going to be in his prime until another 10 years.
yeah.
And if he's being outrageous with his feet now, being dominant, being a good shot stopper at 21, he's got a lot of game experience. It's really promising, because he's going to have his best years at Spurs, hopefully. So I'm really optimistic, and I'm really positive about that signing. And again, I don't know much about him. I've just seen and heard the same amount as everyone else, but it just sounds promising. Yang and Kinsky were in training yesterday, so we've got a massive game against Liverpool tomorrow night. Mikey Moore and Richarlison are back as well.
Yeah.
I know Richarlison was. Mikey Moore is definitely back in training.
Yeah, both are. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll win, but I'm definitely excited again to watch Spurs. And I don't know how you feel. I know we just said that you're optimistic, but yeah, could we? Yeah, I'm not. I'm not. Again, it's Liverpool. What we saw at home a couple of weeks ago was atrocious. But again, we've shown we can score against them. They definitely do look a bit fragile recently in terms of conceding goals. And if we've got Yang, Mikey Moore, Carabao Cup is the sort of competition that you're going to play them. I know they're not probably match fit. I don't know where Yang was against Newcastle, but Mikey Moore's definitely coming back from a long illness. Yang and Mikey Moore, or maybe half and half, first half, second half, against Trent Alexander-Arnold. After that performance, first of all, it might be Conor Bradley, but Yang versus Trent, throw him in, mate.
Yeah, fuck it. Or Mikey Moore. I think Yang might be on the bench.
Yeah. Do you think Mikey Moore will start after the illness? Do you think he'll?
I think so.
Do you think both might be on the bench? Maybe.
Yeah. I think they will. I think Son will start. I think Son will start the left.
Yeah.
Because he'll start on Saturday. Did he? I think it'll be Son, and maybe what I could see him doing potentially is. It's difficult actually, because I think in that first half against Liverpool in the league game, despite the fact that we were being like bummed, I think a lot of us were saying, "Oh, actually, this is the game for Johnson," because they are leaving a little bit of space in behind Robertson or Tsimikas, whoever's going to play. The disadvantage for Spurs tomorrow is that we're playing the best team in the league. Also, the FA Cup's weekend, and they've got Accrington Stanley, so that they might not rest players tomorrow. They might rest them at the weekend. It's going to be interesting to see that team selection. So they might go full strength again, and then it's like, oh dear. But then again, we're going to go full strength as well, aren't we? Because our full strength is, fucking chalk and cheese. But like, yeah, maybe it is the game for Johnson if it patterns out similarly to the league game and there was a little bit of space to attack. I think what he might do is play Kulusevski on the right and then play Bergvall, Basuma, and Bentancur in midfield. Because obviously Zone Madison or Sarr. And I think he might do what he did. I think he might do what he did against Wolves. Yeah, Wolves and play Basuma and Bentancur. Yeah. I actually wouldn't mind that. I think that's probably a smart play against Liverpool. So it'd be interesting to see what he does. But I think it'll probably be Sonny on the left. But the few Liverpool cracks appearing there? Please don't. Please win the league. Like, please don't fucking apart. Do you know what I said? Or unless it's Forest, like, do you know what? I mean, it would hurt a little bit because it's Nuno, but do you know what I said? I said it last night in a TikTok. Like, if Forest go on a title charge, it's actually going to be nice for Spurs fans to feel like involved because we couldn't enjoy the Leicester one. Like, don't get me wrong, we all like an underdog story, but I fucking hate Leicester.
Yeah, that is true. Why did it have to be us?
If Forest go and win it or get the Champions League, I'll be like, well done. Well done, Nuno. Like, I will happily shake their hand. Whereas now I want Leicester to burn the pit of despair and go and get relegated all the way down to League Two and never come back. I hate them. Fucking hate them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's Nuno could actually do us proud.
Liverpool shape. Yeah, finally.
Beat Arsenal to a league title for Nottingham Forest.
Could you imagine? No, I would. Yeah.
I would get a fucking Nuno Espirito Santo tattoo on my bell end if that actually happened. I think. I don't know. I think I'm a bit optimistic. I think I would.
Do you reckon anyone? Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the comments. Do you reckon anyone in the world has got a bell end tattoo?
Mate,
a tattoo like on their bell end.
Yeah, they go. Yeah, mate.
Well, let us know in the comments.
Why? I don't know why you would, but maybe. I swear there's a celebrity that's got a heart on his bell end. I swear there's a celebrity that people talk about. Is it Johnny Depp or something that's coming out that he got like a heart just tattooed on his bell end? Why would you do that? I don't know. I think he's got Prince Albert as well. I don't know why I know all this information about him. But the the Bergvall thing against Liverpool, I think you get the best out of him if he is a bit protected and he has a bit more freedom to sort of free roam in that midfield. If you're playing Basuma and Bentancur, gives him that sort of creative you go out there and express yourself. also put yourself about. That's a very physical midfield, and obviously he can bomb up and down. But I want to see him with a little bit more license, because there was moments there where he'd have to press. And because Sarr and Bergvall, they're both more 8s than 6s, aren't they? That there was holes in behind, and it kind of showed that we do need that 6 to sort of play with them. I think that's a quality midfield, and similar with the legs and the technical ability of Newcastle's midfield. If we had a proper established 6 alongside Sarr and Bergvall, you have that same sort of balance in midfield that Newcastle had. But yeah, Bentancur, Bissouma, Bergvall, I'd love to see it, and I think that's the right midfield to play. And you got fresh legs there with Bissouma, Bentancur, and Bergvall, because he hasn't been playing as much this season. So I'm on board with that 100%. Richarlison will be on the bench. Mikey Moore, Yang, I think they should be on the bench, and they're good bench options. If you get a Tyrone Conor Bradley or a Tyrone Trent, you bring in Yang, who he's an anomaly. No one really knows much about him. I don't think the opponents are going to know much about him. So if he comes on and lights it up, or just has that sort of that 1v1 ability, or that bit of, he's going to want to prove a point. He's going to want to make a statement, and he's going to be exciting. He's going to have legs.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's going to be getting the ball and running at him, even if he gets tackled. I feel like it's positive.
As long as he's doing the thing, yeah. I think Mikey. I think the thing with Moore, I'm feeling. Oh, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say, imagine Mikey Moore first goal tomorrow in Liverpool. Carabao Cup.
Oh my God!
But I think he could be really dangerous, because it's like, obviously we've already seen it with him anyway, and it's like people will be aware of this kid, and it's like, all right, if it is Trent, fucking go and run at him, because he was absolutely diabolical on Sunday.
Yeah,
go and give him I don't know who that Asian Altmaier right back was, but he can't be much but worse than what Trent was on Sunday. Go and have a go.
He had Diego Dalot having a go at him.
Yeah.
Like, you got to take it to Trent at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I am optimistic for just certain elements, to see certain elements of the game, because we're getting reinforcements back slowly. These injuries, we're getting them back, and you're excited because we've been so starved of seeing these players. Mikey Moore, he came in and he looked incredible, and then he's had an illness since the Crystal Palace game, and it's a bit like we're missing him. We're missing that profile as well. Yang, we've expected this signing since the summer. He's now eligible to play. Like, Bergvall, he's now come into his own, and he's got that confidence, and he's becoming an established player of the team. These are the things that we're promised in the summer that are starting to sort of to be introduced now, and we're starting to see it. So, despite a really hard moment in time as a Spurs fan, this run of form and this period of time where it is quite toxic, there's a lot to be excited about, and I'm looking forward to it. Even if we take it to Liverpool and we lose, at the end of the day, it's Liverpool, and they probably will play their best team. I'm not expecting anything, but I'm just looking forward to seeing certain aspects of our team that we haven't seen, or we haven't seen in a while. So this would be my team: Kinsky, Dragusin, Gray. Yeah, Dragusin. The crowd goes silent. Gray, Spence, Porro, Bentancur, Bissouma, Bergvall, Johnson, Solanke, Son. I think Kulusevski, Moore, Yang, Richarlison off the bench. Mate, they're good, very good bench options. I'm not acting like I've ever seen Yang play, but if he can bring to the table what we've signed him for, and I'm not expecting him to have any physicality or anything like that, but just that bit of intensity, directness that we've seen in the compilations and we saw in the pre-season game against Emerson Royale, it's promising. And who knows what the game will be if we see them if they come off the bench. But something to be excited about. Let's talk about, to finish the pod off, Randal Kolo Muani. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of links, a lot of reliable journalists. I think first of all it came out from we'd been interested in him supposedly for a while, but it's come out. Paul O'Keefe saying he's the one that interests us a lot. He's the attacker that he was sort of mentioned before. Then Fabrizio Romano saying that we've approached PSG. David Ornstein. We're trying to see the conditions of the deal. Pletigo, Ben Jacobs saying that we're going to push really hard to sign him. A lot a lot of reliable journalists sort of suggest nothing from Ali Gold yet, which is interesting. I know he's had a couple of days off, to be fair, but he's normally one to sort of put water on the fire, or sort of like, do you know what I mean? The fact that he hasn't said anything yet is a little bit. I'm paying attention to that a little bit because he won't say it unless it's like further down the line. I think Ali Gold. He's not really one to speculate, is he? But I'd love to hear your thoughts on Kolo Muani, because I'm a bit torn. At first, I was a bit annoyed because it was like, well, Kolo Muani is another one of those players that they were a really hot topic a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, on fire. Then we were interested. Then we didn't sign him. They've gone to a big club, big money, big wages, and they've stunk the place out a little bit. And now we're interested in him on a loan with an option or obligation. It's like so Spurs, and we've seen it before. And I think we've been burnt by the Werner deal a little bit. And it's like, do we want to do another thing like that where we're buying someone out of form? And the thing with Kolo Muani is that he's 26, he's versatile, and I think it was Jack Doyle on Twitter who sort of made me think about it in a more rational way. Like, January, you're not gonna players are settled, they don't really want to move. He obviously wants to move. He knows he's gonna move, and you're signing a player that can cover across the front three, who's good in the air. He's a terrible finisher, but he's good in the air. He's a physical presence. He's rapid. He's a good ball carrier. He can link up play. He can take minutes off of Solanke, Son, Johnson in when we're so injury ridden. And I think I don't think I'd want to see an obligation. I'd want to see an option. And around 35 mil, I probably wouldn't go past that. But his wages will be an issue, I think. His wages will be astronomical, especially if we're looking at bringing that wage structure down. It doesn't really make sense, which kind of makes me think it could be a smokescreen, because we obviously know Lange doesn't really do deals that are out in the public. He sort of does it quite unless it won't come out unless it's about to be done a lot of the time, unless it's about to be made official. But I mean, the Dragusin deal was very public. Same with, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, no, Werner was quite quick.
There's been
it's a deal that looks complicated, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think the obligation and the wages will be the sticking point. But it sounds like that's who Spurs want. And I like him as a footballer. I really wanted Spurs to sign him when he was leaving Frankfurt, when it looked like we were going to have to replace Harry Kane that summer. And obviously he went to PSG. The fact that PSG paid 90 million for him, I don't think that should necessarily be a deterrent when you look at his form at PSG. He's not been great, but PSG, again, have had a bit of a almost identity crisis a bit over the last year. Obviously, there was so much up in the air with Mbappe and stuff like that. And he's never really hit the ground running. Hasn't played a hell of a lot this season. And yeah, in front of goal, I don't think he's the greatest finisher in the world, but I don't think Solanke's the greatest finisher in the world.
Yeah, it's true.
But either. I think he's brilliant at running to open space. I think the transitional team, I think, would be really good. I think he can cover out wide, which is important. I think I'd rather us go and sign a winger, but this says to me that they will try and, if they can get Kolo Muani for 40 million loan obligation to buy it, they will look to get rid of Richarlison at the first possible opportunity in the summer, which I think is exactly what we need to do to move on as a club. It's kind of last chance for Saloon for him now come back from injury. I think Kolo Muani and Solanke as striker options is good. I think he will be suited to the Premier League. I often think that Bundesliga players, there's this kind of whole thing as like a Bundesliga tax, and they look better there. But in terms of the physicality and the ball carrying ability and the ability on transition, I think it will translate well. Just looking at Frankfurt rather than PSG, he's good at receiving his back to goal. I don't think he's a perfect fit for us, but I think in terms of when you're playing more transitional games, I think he's better than Johnson. I don't think he is better than Johnson.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Again, he's not that winger that you want necessarily when you are trying to create and undo a low block. But yeah, I like him against if teams are going to leave space against us as well. You don't really want someone like Kolo Muani or Solanke running into it. I mean, there was a couple of times where Solanke really showed his pace on Saturday in the first half of that game. I think both of them, it's interesting. I hope it does materialise, because I would just be interested to see what it would turn out like.
Yeah, it would mean that we never have to see Werner off the bench again, which is just a massive plus. because even if it's Muani off the bench, that bit of reinforcement in games, he can arrive late in boxes and he's good in the air. He's a presence in the box. He's good in transition. So if we're winning and we want to be a bit more transitional, it sort of allows us to be that. And if we've got runners like Kolo Muani, Johnson, Son, and Kulusevski's running up the pitch with the ball, like that's a really that's a positive thought. So I'm not against it one bit. I'd be really happy with it. But the competition worries me, especially when it comes down to his wages, because Man United are interested, Juventus are interested, and Aston Villa are one of the teams sort of monitoring him. And Juventus, and I think there's going to be a bit of a domino effect. I think Xerxes is going to leave on loan or something, and Juventus are one of the teams that are interested in Xerxes because he has obviously played for Thiago Motta at I can't remember the team they're playing, Bologna. So, and that's what he got the best out of him. It was Bologna, right?
Yeah,
Bologna for Xerxes. So
and Juventus as well.
Yeah.
Well, he was at Bologna. No. Wait, sorry, what do you mean?
Yeah, sorry. Xerxes was at Bologna, was he? Was he with Thiago Motta? Is it Bologna I'm thinking of, or is
he was at
Bologna?
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you said about who was in.
So I think that could have an effect. If Xerxes goes, Man United would probably go for Muani. If Juventus can't get Xerxes, they'll probably go for Muani. So there's a bit of a domino effect going on. That does worry me in terms of like attracting the wage and sort of matching the wages. I think Juventus and Man United are much better options if he's looking for a payday. But if he's looking for attacking football where he's going to get a lot of chances, I know his XG isn't very good, but again, Solanke isn't the best finisher, but he scores a lot of goals because he gets so many chances. I think it could be a good move for him. It's just whether or not he can take a pay cut eventually when he signs on a permanent. And that does worry me on the terms of it. I actually can't see this happening personally. I feel like we're going to pull out because it's going to get the demands are going to get too much when it comes to the obligation.
Yeah.
Too much of a risk if he does fail, because you've got 6 months of also trial. And if it's an obligation, you're looking at it thinking, fuck, like this is a big paycheck coming out or for a player that doesn't look competent enough or he's low on or confidence. And his wages, I think it's too much for stumbling block. Even if we do really want him, I can't see us, judging from past experience, I can't see us doing it. So yeah, but it's promising that we're trying and we're being aggressive. That is promising because we need reinforcements. We need them quick. So it'll be interesting to see how that materializes or if it does. And stay tuned for the transfer shows because I've been loving doing that. So yeah, everyone, thank you so much for getting involved in them and watching the pod. Before we leave you, what's your score predictions for Liverpool?
4-0 Spurs. I've no idea. It's going to be such a tough game. I think maybe we might lose 2-1, but I'm optimistic that we might. I don't know. I just want to see a good performance and hopefully we get some players back for the second leg at Anfield. But I mean, we never win at Anfield anyway. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to predict these kind of games. Hopefully, we fucking surprise everyone.
I'm a little bit worried because if it is a bad performance, I think this will be the game that I think people will start turning a lot more on edge, because I think the fact that we've been doing so well in cup competitions is, I mean, we're forgetting about the league. It's cup competitions. It's focusing on that. But then again, you're dealing with a different animal in Liverpool. It's so understandable if we crash out to Liverpool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the context of where we are as a club right now, that our squad is so dismantled. I'm with you. I just want to see a good performance, and there's nothing. That's all you can ask for right now, and that's all we could ask for the Newcastle game, and that's what we got. And I think that coming away, we felt deflated, but there was a lot to be encouraged about. There's a lot of encouraging aspects of it, and I just want to see that again against Liverpool. And who knows? We're at home, get the fans behind us, getting some new players in. Yang might get the fans up. It might change, because that's the thing with with the transfer window. You're getting a little bit of dopamine creeping back in, and we're all feeling a little bit more excitement because you're seeing these players that you've never seen before. Kinsky, if he makes a save, everyone's going to be going, "Oh my god!" Like I feel so much more comfortable than like it's so much better than Forster being in goal. then you're seeing Yang come off the bench maybe instead of Werner. I still think Werner probably will come on, but you're seeing Yang come on. It's like this kid is something to get behind, and that bit of encouragement. I want to see that.
Yeah.
But I do think we'll lose because it's Liverpool and it's just where they are. They're just a different animal. I think it will be 2-1, maybe we lose. I think if I'm being realistic. But who knows? It's Spurs. You never know. Thing with Spurs at the moment, it's like you either get absolute euphoria or absolute or depression. Yeah. It's like going into your bedroom and your missus is there. Yeah. And you could either have the best night of your life, or you could walk in and your missus is in there with Big John from next door. And it could be like the worst watch of your life, or it's like just incredible.
Ecstasy.
You never know. You have no idea. It's a 50-50. Yeah. So everyone, up the Spurs. Thanks for getting involved. Thank you for watching, Ben. Thanks for joining.
All the best.
We'll be back for the to review whatever happens tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Quiz.
Up the Spurs.